everybody is doing really well. I'm way later than I would normally post, but I just wrote something that I have to decide if I'm going to use it as a speech or a blog, or I woke up thinking about it. It was part of something I dreamed, and I woke up actually like speaking out loud. And so I thought it would be really important to get it out. So that's 2 hours of my life that I spent a lot of time on audio. Like I just talked it into a thing, and then I polished it. So most of my morning's been to that. It's important, apparently. So today is Tuesday. We are April 7th, 2024. We are in the tide of renewal, which is the spring equinox to the summer solstice. And my name is Red Moon Eagle, and you are watching Daily Devotions with Red Moon Eagle on YouTube. Or maybe you're watching this from Facebook or Instagram. I'm still working on the whole networking thing. If you're watching this out into the future, hooray. If you stumble across me and you've never heard of me, I have tons of daily devotionals on my YouTube channel, and I've been doing it since 2017. So let's dive into the cards today, because I haven't even looked at them. I have no idea what they are. Okay, we're going to start with Sacred Self-Care. 36, Movement. Very important card. This card is movement. I feel embodied and empowered to move with strength and grace. Create a clear energy flow through your body by introducing new movement practices into your life. Journal prompt. What movement practice would you like to try but find excuses not to pursue? How would working through these blocks and moving more freely make you feel? I actually started, I've looked up a whole bunch of Qigong practitioners. Qigong has not been one that I've done a whole lot of. I've done martial arts, I've done yoga, I've done a lot of other things, but I referred people to Qigong because my partner found Qigong was very good for him learning to harness his empathy and learning how to work with his empathy. And so it was something that he did that I didn't have the opportunity to do. And I'm finding myself doing a lot of it lately. So movement, try finding what works for you. And the mantra is, I feel embodied and empowered to move with strength and grace. No matter what your natural number is, I know that there are embodied natural numbers and not embodied natural numbers, but I would recommend that no matter what body you have, try moving. There are many kinds of bodies, and they're all beautiful, and they're all perfect, and they're all exactly the way they're supposed to be. And movement is part of that journey in the body. So I pulled from the Egyptian Oracle this week. I pulled them all yesterday. I haven't looked at any of them because I felt drawn that, so yesterday was the eclipse and everybody was kind of losing their mind, and I kept doing a lot of rolling my eyes and breathing into it, and I had a magnificent eclipse day. So combination of two things. One, I don't buy into the fear paradigm, and two, I already know that I love celestial events. I am very attuned to them in a wonderful way. So the Egyptian God Oracle, the card that was drawn was 24, Taweret, I think that's how you say it, Genius. Taweret. She is the great protectress of pregnant women and children, who is vigilant even in her sleep. Goddess depicted with the features of pregnant hippo with human breasts standing on 2 legs with a crocodile's tail on her back. She is considered the mother of the sun and collaborates with his daily rebirth, as well as helping the deceased to be reborn into a new life. She symbolizes everything that leads to the generation of things and their appearance. You can start some new projects or have news on the way, the birth of something new, the arrival of new life, or the beginning of a relationship in your life, both in the beginning phase and in the sense of the bond that is welded, such as marriage. I love that. And I was just saying, I haven't looked at anything, and yesterday was the eclipse, and of course I draw a goddess of birth card. Why am I not surprised? The mother of the sun. and collaborates with his daily birth. This symbolizes everything that leads to the generation of things and their appearance. The goddess is the great protectress of protecting pregnant women and children, who is vigilant even in her sleep. I love that. I think there's more to this, so we're going to come back to that one. I'm feeling the niggling as they're starting to come together. Okay, so in the Animal Spirit Guidebook, the card that is here is the Sea Serpent. Sea Serpent. Healing emotional wounds, expressing desires. The Sea Serpent represents the energy of expression. Whether it's emotions, creativity, sensuality, or desire, the Sea Serpent helps us move and direct our energy into a healthy current. When the essence of this card is in balance, we express ourselves creatively and sexually without fear or shame. We know what we desire most. Our hearts are at ease and our relationships are meaningful and enduring. We loosen the grip of self-judgment. We let the cool waters of forgiveness in to heal our wounds. When the energy of the Sea Serpent is not yet activated, our emotions and creativity are left in the muddy waters. The current of expression stagnates in some areas of our lives, and in other places it floods. It's important to remember, no matter what the waters of our emotional lives look like, the Sea Serpent loves us just the same. Like a mother, she wraps herself around us in a gesture of protection. She supports us as we learn to express our true nature. This particular card in this particular paradigm is about natural number 4. It's about the pelvic bowl. It is the representation of creativity, emotional connection, healing emotional wounds, expressing our desires, our sensuality, our sexuality. It is very much both a masculine and feminine card because there's layering in that. I want to come back to this one. I want to make sure I get Mystic Shaman Oracle too, because I'm seeing the patterns now. Hello, patterning. Mystic Shaman Oracle. It's amazing how much these are all tied to kind of what I wrote about this morning. Number 22, the Ghost Dance. I love this card. It's so beautiful. Isn't that amazing? Look at the colors in that. And there's that 3D almost how that card looks with the shadowing and the glazing. I love that. The essence of the Ghost Dance of the American Plains Indians united the spirits of the living with those of the ancestors to bring peace to the world. When the ancestors are honored, they bring harmony to us. When we hold them responsible for all that is wrong with us today, they haunt us. Honor the spirits of our ancestors and receive their lessons and gifts. This includes honoring our own past lives. The invitation. The ancestors have a message of healing and the powerful medicine to offer to you. Create a sacred moment at your altar, light a candle to them, and let their wisdom infuse you. At this stage in your life, you are done repeating their tragic stories. Step into the abundance that is offered to you. Receive the gifts of those who have come before you and write a new story for your life. The medicine of this card is if you are trapped or feel trapped in a vicious cycle of nostalgia, mourning, lost youth, lost opportunities, things that are missed, it's time to take and make an altar for your ancestors. Collect photos, light incense, offer sage, and open the windows of your house to release them to the destiny and into the wild. Be wary of being snared in relationships with someone from the past lifetimes, past stories. The people we are loved or hurt have a way of reappearing in our lives. You can get stuck in that karma circle. There's no learning for you there anymore. So what I'm getting from all these, it is very much tied into what I was writing about this morning, only in a different angle. So I feel like it's a good place. When you're in your body, I feel embodied and empowered to move with strength and grace. The body, this movement piece, is how you're manifesting in the 3D world, right? Are you male, female? Are you white? Are you of color? Are you of whatever your sexual or gender identity is? Whatever your physical anchoring is in this world. Are you homeless? Are you homed? Are you of a social class that has things? Are you of a social class who has nothing? Are you on the precipice of changing? All of these positions and things from the outside that people tend to think are part of their bodies. How are you navigating in movement in this 3D world? Where is your physiological, bodied embodiment, intersectionality, body, mind, spirit, emotion, within the community of this 3D world? Okay? To touch it, feel it, taste it, see it, smell. Where are you in this movement cycle? And are you in your body? Have you made connections with your body? Do you like your body? Are you in your body in a healthy way? Movement is one of the key pillars, and it is important that all of today's daily devotionals taken from a place of being in the body in this real world. So that's where today is. We are in movement in our body. Where is our body telling us to move? Where are we going? Where is the direction? And is that an embodied direction, or is that a mind, spirit, intellectual direction? Because this is the thing, and I talk about this all the time, probably a lot more of it recently, but that's because it's at the top of my own thing, which is in the body, mind, spirit paradigm that everybody wants to talk about. There's a lot of minding going on. There's a lot of being in your mind, connecting to your spiritual self, your higher self. Great, awesome. Spirit, mind, great. Where are you in your body? Where have you taken all of those things and brought them into the world? Are you being real? Are you being authentic? Are you being present with the body and the emotions that go with it? Where is the shadow and light journey in your body that you are traveling? And how are you connected to others, community? This is important, okay? Because the goddess of Taweret, if I'm saying that correctly, she's the protectress of pregnant women and children. She is considered the mother of sun and collaborating with his daily birth. We just had an eclipse yesterday. The moon crossed in front of the sun. We have the opportunity to look at the shadow and the light at the same time. What is our shadow light journey telling us in our bodies, in our lives? This goddess symbolizes everything that leads us to the generation of things and their appearance, the birth of something new, the arrival of new life, or the beginning of relationships, the beginning phase in the sense of a bond, such as marriage. So what is the bond that this goddess, Taweret, is warning us, bringing into awareness, helping us understand there's a body movement part of being aware of what is the new thing. We just had an eclipse. The moon stood in front of the sun. There was shadow in light. The shadow light journey comes up again. It comes up all the time, every day, all of the time, in all of our lives. Those are the two cards today for that. And the sea serpent is that sacral space in the body, the womb, the emotional wounds. The next time I hear that whole phrase, body, mind, spirit, I'm going to be the first person in the room that says emotion. I should have been doing it for decades. I'm going to start doing it more loudly now. We need to allow ourselves to go through the journey of shadow and light and self-love, forgiveness, recognizing that this is not a mind spirit exercise. This is an embodied emotional, it's the full wheel, body, mind, spirit, and emotion. That's what these cards are showing us. It's movement and body and emotion and spirit. All of these things are connected. And then we have the ghost dance, connecting us to our ancestors, honoring the spirits of what our ancestors have done. In some native traditions, they talk about the 7 generations, right? That all decisions that you make should honor and think about how is this going to impact or affect or effect the next 7 generations. And the reason, I'm not going to tell you everything I wrote about this morning or what I woke up thinking about, but something that is really coming clear in the eclipse shadow light energy is women's power. And I do not mean power for power's sake. I do not mean power over others. I do not mean power in the sake of recognition. I have power. I have the all-knowing answers to every question power. That is not the power I'm talking about. Hello, Astra. I am talking about power. Yes. I am talking about power as in the other half of the population. We are women who have power. We are the other half of the population. And we are not holding our power. I am not talking about power over others. I am talking about the power of women, and I will boil it into one small piece of our power. And I say this with the caveat that men also have power, but I'm not talking about men here. I'm putting them over here in this category, not to exclude, but because I want to focus on women's power. Look at it this way. Women, biologically, we're just going to start with the biological side of it. Biologically, women have the ability to create a whole new entity, right? Okay. Add into that the layers of different kinds of women, the intersectionality of women through identity, through gender, through all of the manifestation of what women in all of their forms bring into a space. And there is we talk about it. We talk about it when women become mothers. We talk about unconditional love. Now, unconditional love is, I'm going to back up to come forward here. I grew up being told mother's love is unconditional. And yet I experienced the opposite from my own bio mom. And I really had to go through a lot of ancestral struggle and a lot of understanding where my ancestors came from on that side of the family, all of the trauma that came through that side of the family, to understand why I did not experience that unconditional love. So I'm looking at the words unconditional love, and I look at unconditional love is no matter where you are in your intersectionality of the world, your mother loves you. The goddess, when I talk about the goddess energy or divine connection or whatever your perspective of divinity is, it is unconditional. This painting behind me that I did many years ago, this is Earth Mother holding humanity. Mother of Earth. No matter where you are on Earth, whether you be in a cat form or a bird form or a tree or a piece of grass, there is unconditional love. There is no judgment. The power of unconditional love is not the power over. It is not a mother owning her children. I do not own my children. It's a concept I talk about all the time. Like, I love my children unconditionally. I have been a teacher for years, and I have had many students, and I find the irony of that is they are all my children. I hold them all in my heart. And there is no judgment there. There's no fear, shame, or disappointment. Love is just love. And it's the entity in the human experience can be disappointed if your child becomes addicted to drugs or hurts another person or struggles with something. You can have all of the range of the human emotions about those things, but do you stop loving your child? Well, most would say no, you don't stop loving your child. And you can also not agree with behavior, right? It is a unique experience to grow a whole nother human being in your body. And it's also does not make you less of a mother or less of a woman to not do that. If you cannot carry a child in your body, that does not make you less of a woman. Where am I going with this? Where am I going? I have a beeping thing, just ignore that. Where am I going? I am going to the discussion of power. Power, not for the sake of power, not control. I don't control my children. I don't control their lives. They do not belong to me. I grew their meat suit in my body. I did the best I could, and I released them out to fulfill their own blueprints, out into the world. I hope I did a good job. If I didn't, I'm sorry. And yet, I know that I did the best that I could with the tools that I had. And I don't regret. I don't regret. Not because I don't feel, but I've worked through that shadow and light journey to recognize that regret is fear. And I can't hold on to that. So when looking at power, power is the ability to look within as a woman and recognize the layers of ancestral trauma, the layers of all of the things that brought you into this time and place now, to hold that power. And in the ghost dance, the card, the shadow of allowing your anger, rage, disappointment of what your ancestors have done and how that affects you to keep you swirling. Women have a capacity of power, a capacity of resilience that is different than men. It is not better and it is not worse. It is just different. And that difference is a commonality that has been confused with the fear paradigm. The fear paradigm says if it's different, it must be scary. It must be either better or worse than something else. And women hold power. The power to hold life in our bodies. The power to sustain a coherence in vibrations that are incoherent. And there is a power understanding between two healthy women of harnessing that and creating movement and change in a space that can seem very dynamic and very scary when you're not prepared for it. And yet there's a kindness and a compassion and a resilience of being able to manifest those things in the real world. And these cards today really reinforce women's power. Our bodies, our ability to move within space is multi-layered. We move within space and we do all of these things while still growing a whole nother human in our body if we choose to. It does need to be choice. It's our body. The goddess, Taweret, where she watches over women. She watches over women who are pregnant. She watches over the bonds that create connection between each other. And I challenge, Taweret is also the goddess that helps women recognize other women who need support when they don't know how to reach their own inner power. Not the power over others, but the power within, the natural, authentic power we bring into space. Through our bodies, through our manifestation. I'm not talking about mental power. I'm not talking about spiritual power. I'm not going there. I'm going from the body and the emotional connections we have to each other and that power, that unconditional love that we have for our children when it's healthy, and the unconditional love we should have for ourselves. The connection, the emotional embodiment of what unconditional love is, really. Not an outside paradigm of what a man thinks a mother is. We're taking that out of it. We're not looking at the psychological perspective. We're looking at the true emotional, felt sense of connection through healed, shadow light journey of emotional healing within ourselves and the ghost dance. The stories of our mothers' mothers' mothers who have spent generations pulling us out of the shadow and pulling us into our power, pulling us into the light. So I'm going to use a real world example. Our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, and our mothers. So it's 3 generations: mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Depending on how old you are, your mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers are all in the generations. Well, we're going to go back to great-grandma. Great-grandma, depending on how old you are, and it might be a great-grandmother for you, depending on how young you are. Say your great or great-great-grandmother was a suffragette, right? Working for women's rights, the right to vote, the right to own property. Your grandmother may have been, or great-grandmother may have been in that same participatory set of creating an atmosphere of equity for women's bodies, the right to know what her body wants and know what her life is, the right to file for divorce and get custody of her children, the right to have her own bank account, the right to have a job, the right to ask for a job and equal pay, whether she got there or not. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fight for what our mothers often assumed we would always have. And I say that because I've been in conversations with other white women of privilege, and I'm going to use that word intentionally, white women of privilege, that assumed that when we had the right to an abortion, that would never go away. Now that we have the right to vote, that would not be taken away. We have the right to go and get a job, request equal pay. Those rights are here, that they're not going to go away. There's nothing wrong with our mother's assumptions that those things were not taken. I and the next generation, I've talked with many young people about why did our mothers sit back and not do anything else? There's a lot of anger towards our mothers. And that's what's holding us back. I want to go back to that section. Number 22, page 22. This right here, this is the warning of the ghost dance card. Be wary, If you're trapped in a vicious cycle of nostalgia, mourning the lost youth of opportunities missed, be wary of being snared in relationships or something from the past or a past lifetime, as the people we loved or hurt have a way of reappearing in our lives. Do not repeat their tragic stories. Okay? Don't get caught in the anger and resentment of what did our mothers stop doing? Why did they seem to just lean into going and having corporate jobs, filling those roles that their mothers fought so hard for them to have the opportunity to participate in? I had a wonderful conversation with someone who, her mother was very, very active in the women's liberation movement. And that gave her the opportunity to go to college and become a scientist. And she's worked in science, and she's just recently retired, and she's been horrified by all the outcomes of the last 10, 15 years. And she's starting to really wake up and become more involved. And she's like, I'm in my 70s. I'm in my 70s going into my 80s, and I never thought I'd be fighting this fight a second time. Or that my mother's work I would have to fight too. And it's an interesting conversation because right now, one of the things that women moving into this new space and reclaiming our power is continuing the work of holding our power. And we have to hold our power not for power's sake, but for the community and the connection of other women. We have the ability to move forward, but we have to do it collectively, together, not power for the sake of power, but power as community, lifting each other up, helping each other work through the shadow, holding each other authentically accountable for that journey. And I know that we can do this. There are a lot of young women out there that want their mothers, their grandmothers, their sisters, their aunts, all of the intersectionalities of women being represented to come forward and be heard and support each other. These young women are asking their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, why aren't you doing anything? Because I will confess, I am part of that generation that I've been trying to survive. I've been watching the slow erosion, feeling helpless and not sure where to go, what to do, how to step up. And having grown up being told you can do anything, you have this power. And yet, don't speak too loudly because you're too authentic and you're too straightforward, and God forbid you make anybody uncomfortable. And that's okay. You have to release the shame, guilt, fear, disappointment that you have of your ancestors because they did their best. They did their best. Honor that. When you can look at that and say, you did your best, thank you. Thank you, ancestors. Looking forward, what are my next 7 generations going to look forward to? So I need to do something. I have to harness my power. And there are many women of white privilege who have made assumptions and are standing at the sidelines going, holy shit, what do I do now? And also not recognizing that when you say women and you are in a room of a whole bunch of white women and there are no women of color and there's no intersectionality of identification, queer, transgender, if you do not have representation of women that are of color, of indigenous background, of immigrant background, if you do not embrace all of your sisters and give them space to hold their power, then you are the problem. And I look at you and say, I love you anyway. I forgive you. I recognize the problem. So let's fix it. Let's fix it together. Today's daily devotion is pretty heavy. It's really important. I've kind of gone back through a couple of the daily devotions over the last couple months, and I've realized that there is a lot of depth in these daily devotions. So I do acknowledge that these things can be very uncomfortable. And I honor that. I honor the universe that brings me the potential and the real connection possibilities of talking about the difficult subjects and recognizing that it's triggering and it's heavy, and yet there is always a possibility for liberation in that. There's a way to move forward. This is not a trap. This is not a trap of, it's too big, I don't know what to do. It's not a trap. We always start with ourselves. Each day, each moment, each opportunity moves us forward, one moment at a time. Touch it, feel it, taste it, see it, smell it. Be in the real world with your journey. Don't hold it still. Don't hold it in tight. Don't trap it. Don't just mind spirit it. If you're mind spiriting this stuff, you're not doing anything. You're just swirling. There's movement there, but are you going anywhere? I hope you all have a beautiful day. I send you love. I send you light. We can do this if we do it together. There's no need for us to do it alone. Have a blessed day, and I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.